How to build a Blackgates Sweet Pea 5-inch gauge locomotive, part 56, completing the plate work on the right hand side and fitting the sidebar, plus looking at the cab. It is a bit of a mess and needs some attention. The cab examination was filmed before I filmed this part, because it's not a pretty sight and I thought it may upset some sensitive viewers. A lot of this episode is very much like the previous one, but I'm sorry if I have to do it, I video it, which shows all of the details of building a very simple engine like this. What I'm doing is bolting the bearers back onto the chassis. The holes in this buffer beam are slightly larger than in the other side, so it does move about, and I'm making sure that it's in the correct position before I tighten it up. I would use a 9/64 of an inch drill as clearance size for 4BA, but as I've just said, the holes in the buffer beam are larger than this. There are some marks in the paint on these bearers. This was due to resting them on the edge of a plastic tub. It really doesn't matter because they have to be painted again before final assembly. What I'm doing now is testing the fits of the screws in the holes on the bearers, and the good news is they are all in the right place. As you can see, it's a very simple job to screw the countersunk machine screws into the holes. The last thing I want is for these to be tight. They need to be readily removable should they ever need to be removed. I've just noticed that I forgot to countersink the bearers slightly, as shown in the previous video. This means that the countersunk machine screws do not go quite as far into the plate as they should. I took the plate off and countersunk the bearers, then I reassembled it. Now it's time to fit the second sidebar in position in exactly the same way as I showed in the previous episode, except this one is on the right hand side. I used two heavy-duty plastic clamps to hold the sidebar temporarily against the footplate. Then I used a felt tip pen to mark the positions where I needed to drill. I'm drilling the holes in the sidebar with a 6.5mm drill, which is tapping size for 5BA. While I'm doing that, I will leave the image of both of the footplates in position on screen. Now to tap the sidebar. I still have some metal cutting lubricant in the small tub, and I apply the oil to the tap before starting the threading operation. I'm running this section in real time. I want to show you the principle and the habit that I've got into over the years. 3 turns in and 2 turns out. This is to clear the chippings from the flutes in the tap. If you don't do this, when you unscrew the tap, it can be very difficult to rotate and also very likely to snap off. This is mild steel that I'm threading, and for this job it is definitely 3 turns in and 2 out all the way. Depending on the hardness or softness of the metal being threaded, you may have to vary this 2 in, 1 out or whatever. A general rule is try not to break off the tap. In this clip I'm countersinking the end of the sidebar, and as with the footplate you need to countersink to the correct depth. In this clip I'm using a 6.5mm twist drill and I'm drilling through into the bearer. This is quite hard to do and I have to put a lot of pressure on my trusty old DeWalt battery operated drill. And once again it's very important to withdraw the drill periodically to clear the swarf. I originally drilled all the way through the sidebar using a 1/8 of an inch diameter drill. That is clearance size for 5BA, and it's also quite useful to keep the tap nice and level as I thread the bearer. And once again 3 turns in and 1 turn out. But this hole does not go all the way through, so beware when you get near to the end of the hole, the tap will start to feel harder to turn. That's the time to stop turning it. I threaded quite a long way into the bearer, but not far enough. In this clip I'm trying a test fit using one of the standard countersunk machine screws I've been using. The screw of course was too long, so I removed it and using the 1-inch belt sander I shortened it. This time when I screw in the shortened bolt it's a perfect fit in the sidebar. And this is just what I want it to look like, slightly below the depth of the metal. This next sequence is actually out of sequence. I sat the cab temporarily on the footplate, and I sat the valve gear way shaft in its approximate position. You can clearly see that the slot that's been cut in the cab front is in the wrong place. I think the plan is going to be enlarge the slot and fit some sort of a plate to make it look better, and that way the operating arm from the reverser will be in the right place relative to the way shaft. This clip is also not in the correct sequence. I'm doing two things here, applying some black paint to the chassis and spraying the nuts on the end of the bolts at the other side. I decided not to drone on and on about how badly made the cab is. I'll do that shortly in a future episode. That's it for now. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my Mainsteam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists, you can actually watch the videos back to back.